Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Monday. It's May 7th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and we wrapped up another month. We actually started May last week, the end of last week, but I forgot to mention it. But another month gone by, starting a new month, and won't be long. We'll be switching over to another contract. But for now, we're trading the June contract. And I was a little late this morning getting the mid-morning chart posted. I had some internet problems. I didn't trade at all today. It's just been crazy around here. I had some issues with there's some construction going on nearby, and I don't know if they cut the line or whatever. But my power was out, and then the power came back, but the internet didn't, and then I had internet issues, and so it was not a good day around here. I'm a little bit behind on my email this morning because of that. So if you're looking for an answer on something, bear with me. It may be late this evening or tomorrow before I get caught up on email. But looks like I didn't miss a whole lot today. This is basically a trading range. These were your overnight lows down here, overnight highs. We stayed within that most of the day. We had a little failed break higher here, only to trade back down to the lows where we bounced and ended up in the middle. This is your midline here. I didn't drag it all the way across because it kind of interfered with this where it didn't fit well over here. At this point, this tighter range was what you'd be more worried about. I didn't have it on the mid-morning chart, but there's really a spike in channel here too. So it helped to have that on there, although really your play is most likely the sideways stuff. But it might have helped you with this trade here. I still marked it with, as green. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. But most of it was all sideways. And whenever you're swinging back and forth below and above the EMA like that, generally you can trade it both ways. Um, there were more shorts than anything. There weren't a lot of good long opportunities really. So I'm going to back out. We'll talk about the trades that won't take long because there just wasn't a whole lot going on today, and makes me feel a little better about missing the day and not getting to trade today. But those things happen, and you'd rather that your internet go down before you start trading or after you get through trading than while you're trading. I have had that happen before. People ask me that occasionally. Maybe a good time to answer that question. But always keep the number to the trading desk and your account number handy, just in case your internet went down. And unless you were deep in the money, and even then, I would probably, unless you're deep in the money on that particular trade, I should say. But even then, I would probably call in instantly and just tell them to flatten any trades you have and get flat and get out of the market, because you don't want to take. I mean, you never know. You could be long up in here and this looks really good, and then suddenly look at it sell off, or you could be long and you get a big sell off like that, and by the time your internet comes back, you've got a huge loss going on or something. So don't fool around with that. If your internet goes down or you lose your power or whatever, pick up your phone, call the trading desk, have your account number in that phone number handy. I keep it taped to my trading screen, and if you have an issue, and I've had that happen not very often, maybe once or twice in my trading days. This morning it happened before I even got in, so it didn't really affect me today, but you never know. So just be prepared for that, and if your internet goes down or power goes out or whatever, don't mess around with it. Just call the trading desk and flatten it. And you may take a small loss, or if you're in the money, you may give up some profit, but better safe than sorry, because you might hold on and something bad happen and the market change gears real quickly. And a lot of these softwares, your orders are not live. Your sitting orders are not live if you're not connected to the internet. So your safety stop may not get executed, and you don't want it just to trade right through there and not get executed, and your order not get filled, and you're sitting on a loss when the power comes back up or your internet comes back up. So just something to think about, since this is going to be short and sweet and I had a few extra minutes this morning. But let's talk about the trades. When I came in, I really was playing. I would have played this as a sideways, or actually not when I came in, but when I was able to get my internet going. It was 9:30, almost 10 o'clock, so we were somewhere over in here in the price action by the time I got in today, or by the time my internet was up. Anyway, I was here at my normal time, but anyway, I would have been playing. I think this was the more accurate play, the sideways stuff. Although there is a spiking channel here, and 7 o'clock hit right along down through here, and that would have been a bounce off this trend line. You get a little break lower. It actually traded lower and turns. It goes up out the other side. If you got room to get out before this previous high here, I'd probably take that trade. If there's not room, I would not take it. And then it comes back, and it kind of gives you that double test of this level right here. If you move this line up, you can see that double test right there. You get it here, then you test it once, test it twice, and you get that little failed break lower. These are the ones I like to catch because literally a lot of times it's literally a major low, or if it breaks out the upper side, a major high. There was a breakout up here, but it was before 7 o'clock. So, but look at that move up, and if you take that trade, you get to catch that, and you would have had a runner, and you ride that all the way up most likely. Where if you don't take that, there's not really another good opportunity to enter it. If you enter up here, there's a first entry right there, and that's really the first break lower, and you're way away from the EMA. It's just not a very good place. That one would have worked, but if you waited on the failed second entry short, which came right there, and you went long, you get burned. So you don't want to be going long way up here. It's just overdone. It's probably going to come back shortly. So especially on a breakout like that, I mean, we had a breakout here first, so it kind of cleared it out, but we were back in it here. But this is one of those failed break lower, so I love those trades. And there's a little lower high right here. It's like a little break. You really could, and it's right off that trend line, so you might take that as a higher low, but it's still away from the trend line, the EMA, the whole 9 yards. You know, you might argue for it, but I'd skip it most likely. You want a good setup where it breaks lower and comes back to the trend line or the EMA or something of that nature. And that's really the only opportunity you had until you finally get a reversal pattern right here. Notice you come down, you get a first entry, you get that second leg down, you get a second entry, it fails, goes short right there. It's only good for a scalp, and then it bounces. And there's actually a second entry short right there. It doesn't look very good on my chart. It is the first break of that, so if you had a little better setup right there, and that's really only about 3 ticks in that bar, I think. So what you might do is let it break lower right here and see if it'll come back and fill you 1 tick below where that one was, or wherever your bar is, if your bar is a little different. So that's another way to look at that. I don't really like that one. It's just not a very good signal bar. So but you got this one, but your high is over here, and it's not an equal top, so you can't really consider that your signal bar. Although you could play it like I said, let it break lower and drop a limit order and see if it comes back. And I don't know if it would have or not, be honest with you, because my internet was down, so I don't know how this played out right here. I'm just guessing at that. So I didn't mark it originally. I'll go ahead and mark it. It should be probably green based on having to be some limitations to that trade, but it's, you know, if you had a good signal bar, that's a second entry short, I'd say take it all day long, but you don't get that. Then we drop on down, and there's actually a second entry long here. Notice that swing high is higher than that one. So first entry, then second entry, but that's a very neutral bar. It is a long way away from the EMA, and it does bounce off that original low. But it's just really too neutral in my opinion. Wait and see if you get a better setup. And then notice what happens. You get a little correction here. It pushes through the EMA, pulls back and tests it, gives you a lower high. So that's technically a second entry long, second leg up. And so there's your second entry short right there. And if you drew this trend line off these highs and then drug it down, it's fitting really nicely. So you might consider this would have been your signal bar, and so it would have been the break above that one, really. But that's a really large bar, but it's technically a failed second entry short. If you went to a slightly smaller chart, you would see the second entry short even ticking below most likely. So there's some reasons to like that one. and it would have worked. And then of course you come up here and there was some resistance here earlier, and notice we find resistance right there again. So you basically got a double top, and then you make a lower high right there. But again, you're kind of going sideways, so I'd want a little better setup. And then you get a third attempt to go higher that fails, and look at all that resistance. So, and that's a double test there. So I like that one. It's not a perfect bar, but if you consider it as a failed second entry short, which it is, it doesn't matter. And there's a little bit of room back to the EMA. So it really, what at this point it looks like your highs have just dropped from here down to here. Of course, they move up a little bit again, but at this point, that's where your highs are, and that's a fairly decent trade. And then it bounces down here, and you just kind of get stuck right here going sideways. But notice what happens. You push up here and you test that high, and then you get a second entry long, or a first entry long, and then you get a second entry long, but it's right into those highs, and you don't want to be going long up there. Right into those highs, especially with a break of this channel, and now you've got a high. So when you get that little failed second entry long, I like that one, especially when this starts turning down right here and goes straight on through it. I like going short right there, and you're open just to ride it back to here, but it may go all the way back down to the lows of the overnight, which are way on down there. And this turns out to be your midline from the highs and the lows. So, and you can see it came back into play here and here in the later in the afternoon. But you wouldn't have had that line at this point. So you're hoping if it goes on through here, it's going all the way to the other side, or maybe at least to test this low. But instead, notice what happens. You get a close outside, new low. It tries to go lower again, fails, gives you a higher low with a bullish reversal type bar. You're still way away from the EMA. It's a double test of that level right there. Just go long right there. And hopefully it's headed back to the other side, and maybe it goes even higher. And of course it does. It just shoots on, pushes right on up again. And there's actually a failed second entry short. Where is it? You actually could consider that one, but you don't want to be going long right there when you got 2-bar matching high back into those highs. And then of course it does try to go lower again here, and it does bounce off what looks like the trend line, but again it's right into those highs, and now you've got 3 or 4 bars stacked up there. I just wouldn't risk that. Even though it ends up pushing on up, I wouldn't risk it. And this one's even right back into these highs, so I just don't think you can risk going long up here. Just wait, and the better trade is your failed breakout up here if you get one. And remember, then you might catch an important high, and guess what? You do. Look at this. And that's a great setup. A big bearish bar, double 2-bar matching high, bearish bar, a good bit away from the EMA. Just go short, 1 tick below that, and you can ride this all the way to the other side. And that's exactly where it pretty much bounces, down here at the overnight lows. And so that's the kind of setup you want to get. There's not a failed second entry long reversal pattern here, but look how that shoots right through the EMA, pulls back, and it tests that trend line working down through there. It breaks higher, gives you a fairly bearish bar. It's not perfect, but if you're going to get another leg down, you got a long way to go. It turns out that's only 1 leg down with 2 legs in it, and then you get another leg down. But if you measure these legs, there's leg 1. So there's your target. We didn't quite get that, but what it is bouncing at that midline, or you got a little support right across there. It turns out there's a midline there. You probably wouldn't have known it at that point, though. And then I would measure the 2 legs here and see if you get a measured leg here. And look, you almost get a perfect measured leg. I think it misses it by a tick right there, and then it bounces. So, and again, that's the overnight low, so that's giving you a target of the overnight low. That's a pretty good place to look for. So if you catch either one of those, you got a pretty good move. But you got, I marked this one. You don't have a close outside of this till here, but you got a low there, then you test it once, you test it twice. So there's that double test rule, and we're a little bit away from the EMA. So you may risk that back to the EMA. It's after 2 o'clock, so I probably wouldn't risk it, but I thought I'd point it out just in case somebody asked about it. You do have 2 measured legs down. It looks like it kind of probably tries to go lower. This little break lower right here. You could be looking at that as a failed second entry long, which it is a failed second entry long. So that might trap some people thinking they're outsmarting everybody else, but that's just a little too far away from the EMA, especially when we've had these lows across here, and that's the first move through. I don't have this line all the way across there, but that should be already. So this is probably going to pull back and test that. It may not be a failed break lower, but it's at least going to come back and test it. And so you figure you're going to come back and test that, the EMA. And so it might be worth going along there, although I probably wouldn't risk it that late in the day. So, but there weren't a lot of trades, so, I'm sure somebody will probably ask about it. So I just thought I'd go ahead and talk about it. So you can see there, it's really basically a range day. Let me back on out where you can see the whole day. You can see it there. There's your overnight. That's not your overnight highs, but that's where most of your highs were. It actually came on down as the day went on. You get the most touches and closes really right across there. But either way, that's what I was playing most of the day. But anyway, I'm back in business. My internet's up. Hopefully no issues tomorrow, and we'll be back on schedule. But again, I'm a little bit behind on my emails. Just bear with me if you're looking for something. I tried to go through just see if there was anything critical. I don't remember seeing anything. There were some questions, but I just kind of put them aside. I only answered the critical stuff, and I'll weed through it tonight or first thing or tomorrow when I get through trading. So, but anyway, hope you had a good trading day. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow, but I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.